This time of year, I always find myself reflecting on where I've been, what I've learned, what I would change, how I've grown, both personally and professionally, all the things. And maybe you felt that way too. Hello, Redlo women. Welcome back to the podcast. How are you today? I'm so grateful you're here. I'm your host, Terry Mullen, and I'm here to offer a little bit of inspiration in your day and to empower you and to help you reclaim your confidence, embrace your voice, define your path, lead with courage, and own who you are now in this season of life. So grab that warm cup of coffee and let's step forward together. Let's go. Before we dive into the episode, I want to take a moment and thank Riverside for sponsoring this podcast. Riverside is a platform for recording high-quality studio-level podcasts and videos, offering AI-powered editing tools and enabling easy content creation for creators, marketers, and businesses. To learn more about Riverside, go to riverside.com. Okay, grab your coffee and listen in. It's been an incredible year of growth, which if you've been following along and listening to the podcast, you've heard me talk about that. That's been really exciting to see the growth in my own life, my own business, the women I've helped step forward, the communities I've created, just the growth of the podcast and being sponsored by Riverside and just kind of all the things. It's just been really exciting. But what I think about most is what got me to this place and what sitting behind this microphone has taught me. And I hope this inspires you because I think first and foremost, when we start these journeys, we feel this whisper, this flame, this kind of tug at our soul for something we want to try. We never really know where it's going to go, right? And I want to encourage you with that in the first place. Because if you're a midlife woman, you're listening in, it's 2025, and you're thinking, where am I going to be in a year? What will 2026 look like? What is that dream or goal that I've been putting off? That book maybe I wanted to write, or that podcast I want to start, or that coaching business I want to start, or some other business, right? I want to inspire you because I always say, if I can do this, so can you. And I've shared many times that midlife women are leading the entrepreneurial space. A lot of that has to do with coaching, but we are leading this industry. We are living longer. We have so much wisdom and insight, and we know so much more. And so I just want to encourage you. That's really first and foremost. And I want to share what I've learned and what sitting behind this microphone has taught me. And I want to talk about 7 things. I want to talk about courage, communication, tenacity and discipline, expertise and leadership, technical skills, resilience, and empathy. So let's start with courage because anytime we take a step forward and we're leaning into something new, it takes courage, right? It takes courage to take that first step, to try, to be willing to make mistakes, to fail and to rise up and to have the grit to keep going. As my grandfather said, it's just stepping into those courageous cowboy boots and putting your foot in the stirrup and climbing up on that horse and riding like the wind, right? We often think that confidence comes first, that we have to have the confidence to do it. Well, it's not true. Confidence comes after courage, after taking that risk, after learning all those mistakes, after putting yourself out there, fumbling over your words like I've done here on a podcast, or, just making the mistakes in your business or your personal life, whatever it is, and learning from it. And as you learn, as you grow, that's where your confidence comes. And that's what's happened to me. We know that Malcolm Gladwell says that that 10,000 hours makes you an expert. And I think with all of us, midlife women, we're an expert in something, right? When we start out, whatever that next thing is, there's an experience that we have that makes us an expert. Now, you might not be an expert when you want to start writing a book or when you want to do a podcast or when you want to coach, but eventually you're going to get there. I'm stepping into my 4th year of doing this. Yeah. And I've learned so much. And I'm so grateful for this experience. I'm grateful that I paid attention to that whisper in my soul 4 years ago when I took that course that gave us an assignment that said, do a 2-minute podcast intro, and it was kind of a dare for me. I'd been listening to podcasts, but never thought about doing my own. And I thought, what the heck? I grabbed my iPhone with those plug in headphones. I went and sat in my car because that was the best place at the time to record. It was quiet. I could think. And I sat there for 2 hours. And as I did, as I heard my voice played back, something flickered inside my soul. I thought, huh, I don't hate the sound of my voice. I kind of enjoy this. What if I can just help women? What if I can just inspire them? What if I can help them feel like they're not alone? What if I can help them feel like they are seen and heard and understood and valued and loved and reminded that they belong? That's where my closing, kind of tagline that I say at the end of every podcast, you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, you are valued, and reminded that you belong. That's where that started. And that's really had been my mission back then, is still my mission today. My mission is to help you feel like you're not alone, to understand that this midlife is a journey. It's a huge transition in our life. And a lot changes in our bodies, in our relationships, maybe where you live. It's just like a lot of disruption that kind of happens all at once. Don't think we talk about it enough. And so I wanted to be this voice of like, yeah, I get it. I see you. I am you. I've been there. And what's next for you? You've given a lot to the people in your life, people you love, maybe children you've raised, your husband, maybe your career. And now where are you? What do you want to do with this next season of your life? What legacy do you want to leave? What impact do you want to have? And you're still young enough to have that impact and that income, whatever that is you want to do. So that's my encouragement. That's where it all started. And I still feel the same. I thought I was going to start with my book, but I didn't. I started with the podcast, which was so interesting. So if you have that flame or flicker, lean into it, pay attention. You never know where that's going to take you. It just might take you to 167 podcast episodes. Never knew I would end up here. And I love it more than ever before. You know, from here, I went on to write my book and to create my coaching program and my membership and masterminds for women that I've brought into this circle, this what I call the Redlo Women's Circle, right? And Redlo is not only older spelled backwards, it's kind of my persona, the avatar that I created, the person that I'm speaking to. She is this midlife woman who's stepping forward with her life. And Redlo is also an acronym. It means to reclaim your confidence, to embrace your voice, to define your path forward, to lead with courage, and to own who you are now in this season of life, and to be proud of it and to embrace it. So that's where we are. The second thing I've learned from sitting here behind this microphone and what it's taught me is to be a better communicator. This is where I found my voice. This is where I found the courage to talk to you, to share who I am, a part of my life, my journey, the good, the really hard things, the messy, and where I am now. I'm not the person I was at episode 1. I've grown so much from that episode, not only with my voice, but where I am with my business and what I'm doing. When I started this podcast, I didn't have a business plan or any idea that I was even going to really coach women. It was kind of in the back of my mind that I wanted to at some point, but when I started, I just started talking to women. So you can do that too. You can just talk. You can share your journey. You don't have to have a business plan to do this. But, as I've found my voice here with my thoughts, my ideas, my vision, like I said, part of my story and my journey and where I've been, I hope I've inspired you and empowered you. I've also had other women come on here and share their story. This has been a great platform for them to share their voice and their journey, where they've been and where they are now. Maybe something that they've overcome that can inspire you and empower you as well. I've also learned to be a great interviewer, and that's been a really fun journey. It's kind of in me. I love doing it. I'm naturally a really good listener. But it's also really forced me to hone in on that, to really pay attention and be very, very present when I'm talking to someone on an interview, which I really am anyway. I love people's stories and their journeys and where they've been. So it's been really fun to pay attention to that, that's something I am already pretty skilled at, but that I love, and to get better at it, to get better at listening to really pay attention where someone is and their story and to make my questions very relevant to the conversation that we're having when I interview them. The third thing I've learned is that this takes a lot of tenacity and a lot of discipline, right? So in my book, Step Forward, I talk about stepping into those tenacious tennis shoes. It's having that grit and that perseverance. And you have to, like, whenever you're doing anything, whenever you're stepping forward with something new, you've got to have that grit and perseverance because you hit bumpy roads. There are so many days where you want to quit. And there's something in the podcast world known as pod fade. If you're not familiar with that, that means that a lot of people will start this with a lot of enthusiasm. And then after about 8 episodes, they stop for one reason or another. It's hard. It's hard to do this and show up and be disciplined every single week or every other week, or some people do it multiple times a week, but it takes a lot to do this. And there are times where I just show up and talk off the cuff, but most times I have to go in and do research and think about what it is, the data that I want to share with you. How does the story ebb and flow? How am I going to create the story where I sit here and talk to you? How will I structure it? It takes planning, it takes commitment, and it takes that discipline to do this every week. And now, thankfully, Apple really rewards podcasters that are showing up and being consistent every week or every other week, whatever that is. But if you show up consistently, Apple is now really putting your podcast out there. It's not just about who you are anymore. So that's awesome. The fourth thing that I've really learned and grown with is accepting my expertise. That's the confidence that's come to be at this place now, to really see that I am an expert here as a podcaster with 167 podcasts, and I actually need to do the calculation for how many minutes and hours this is that I've spent sitting here talking to you, right? And learning how to structure this and all the technology and all the different things that comes with doing a podcast episode, and then leading other women to do this as well, teaching them how to podcast. That's leadership. That's leading with courage. It's doing things when I didn't always have it all figured out, but I have kind of the same mindset that Marie Forleo has, that everything is figure outable. And I'm very much like that. I've got a lot of grit, a lot of tenacity, a lot of resilience, and I will just keep going until I can figure it out. So I've really learned that. And I want to empower you with that too. I believe that you have that inside of you. The fifth thing I've learned is all the technical skills and that I'm kind of a technical nerd. I talk about this periodically, but I love the technical side, all the tech, a lot more than I admit. But I love the aspects of figuring it out, of doing a lot of the behind the scenes with what really grows your business. I love the AI integration, which is what Riverside really offers here with this platform. It's incredible. You can now host, record, edit, upload the whole thing on Riverside, and then also use their AI integration to create other content for posting, writing articles for LinkedIn or your post on social media, doing reels, doing emails, all the things. And just with one podcast episode, as if you listen to episode 166, I talked about this last week, that this is my top of funnel. And Riverside is a great platform for a top of funnel, whether you do a podcast or whether you do videos. It's really fabulous for that. Number 6, the thing that I have really learned and from sitting here behind this microphone is to be resilient, right? I love how Sarah Blakely often talks about that she has never really feared failure because at their dinner table, their father always asked them, what did they fail at? And it was almost like this sense of pride, right? They had to talk about something that they made a mistake on or something that didn't go right, something they failed at. And I just think that is so cool. I think if I could go back and parent my kids over again, I would have that conversation at the dinner table. Not always just celebrating the wins, but celebrate what didn't work because that's where the growth happens. That's where our resilience comes from. That's where that grit comes in that gives us that ability to know that we can rise up and that we can solve a problem and we can figure it out, that most things are figure outable. And if it's not, we can pivot and shift and try something new, right? That's where confidence comes. Confidence comes from solving problems and from learning, from making a detour, from hitting a speed bump, from having to make a left turn and pivot and learning when to pivot. I'm in a community right now with someone that's coaching my husband and we were just on a really powerful call. And she's been the most transparent out of any coach I've ever had. She just is so genuine, so authentic. She just talks about where she is in real time. And if you are in the online space, if you are an entrepreneur or a creator, you know that this industry has radically been disrupted this year. What worked back in 2020, 2021 no longer works. You can't just show up and just start posting. The algorithms have changed. The buyer has changed the way they buy. A lot of people now just they don't trust. So we're in what a lot of these gurus call the trust deficit economy. So it's just taking people a little bit longer to say yes to you. They want to get to know you. They want to get to like you. They want to decide if they can trust you. And you've probably heard me talk about what Daniel Priestley says is that today it's really important to have that 7-11-4 rule. And that means that it's taking people at least 7 hours to connect with you, right? Whether that's listening to me here on a podcast or watching a video or a reel or reading something I wrote in a LinkedIn article or a blog or an email, all the things, or maybe even my book, right? And then it's taking at least 11 touch points. And many say it's more than that it almost is double. So people need to touch base with you in some capacity, whether they are listening to you on a podcast or they're watching a reel or they're taking a masterclass from you or they've read something you wrote, right? They want those 11 touch points and 11 different connections with you because they've got to decide if you are who you say you are, if you're legit, right? And then they want to see you in 4 different locations. Again, so that can be in 4 different places where you appear. That could be a book, that could be a masterclass, that could be an article you wrote, that could be your course, that could be a podcast, it could be a video, a YouTube, all the different things. But they want to see you showing up in 4 different places. So it takes all of that for people to really get to know you. And that is why I teach how important it is to have long form content. And a podcast is long form content, and so is doing a video, like a longer video, a YouTube video, even writing a blog or a longer article, having a book. All those things really help. It builds your credibility. It allows people to really get to know who you are. And for me, showing up here on the podcast is one of my favorite things because I can change my topic each week. I can share who I am. I'm not censored. You know what I mean? Like you can just show up here and this podcast lives on a shelf in a podcast library. And if you haven't listened to my podcast episodes on talking about why podcasting is so great, podcast episodes are searched by their podcast title. They're searched by keywords. So if you just typed in certain keywords, they'll pop up, or they're searched by the author and they are search engine optimized. And now they're also AI optimized. And I shared a story last week in my episode that there was a woman that was searching for my husband. She wanted to learn more about him, and he doesn't have a website. He's been an investor for years, but he teaches a course called Investing Simplified that I help him with. And I had him on my podcast, and the title of the podcast had Investing Simplified in it. And the woman discovered him from Google. Google shared that podcast episode with her, and she listened to it and got to learn more about him. So, how cool is that? And I was just doing a happy dance because I was saying, see, I'm telling my husband, I told you this works. It was just proof in the pudding. And I teach that to women that I coach too. You know, your keywords, your search engine optimized words, your words now with AI, it's all working together. And you want Google and even AI to recommend you. And I shared also last week, just another quick story that my daughter's newsletter was recommended to someone in ChatGPT, which I just think is super cool. Anyway, so all that to say that doing anything that you do, it takes resilience, it takes tenacity, it takes consistency, it takes discipline. And I want to encourage you with whatever it is that you're trying to do or whatever it is that you want to do in the new year. Set yourself a goal. Go for it. I'm here for you if you need some support to start that business or if you want to start a podcast. I have learned so much. My program, I can get you launched in a podcast in 5 weeks. And if you want some one-on-one coaching to launch your business, I'm here for you. I love doing that. I've had some great success with women, and sometimes we just need someone to help us take that brave step forward. Another really great way to connect with me and get to know me is to join my Redlo Women's Circle Mastermind group. The next cohort will be starting in January. It is more business focused for midlife women who are ready to grow their business, their online business, and gain visibility, and also to build really meaningful connections. So we meet once a month for 90 minutes. We talk about visibility, getting clear on your message, talking about strategies, networking, power of connection and collaboration, what platforms actually work, building your emails list, and talking about sales and podcasting. I will answer any questions. We'll do a Q&A. So I will put that link here in the show notes for you, and you can just click on and join, or you can reach out and ask me any questions that you might have. I'd love to answer them for you. So finally, the last thing I've learned is just to have a lot of empathy and compassion. I think the world needs a whole lot more of that. When we are able to connect and communicate with other people, we meet them where they are. It gives us a lot more compassion and understanding for humanity, for where people have been. And if we can share someone else's story, give them a platform to share where they've been, what they've learned, what they've overcome, it really empowers others and makes them realize that they're not alone, that they can overcome their situation, whether that is something that they've gone through with a challenge with a business or with their personal life, a relationship, their health, whatever that is. When we are able to hear other people's stories and learn from them and see that somebody got to the other side, it inspires us and empowers us. I hope this inspires you as you're stepping into the new year. Take some time to reflect on your life, where you've been, what you're going to let go of in the coming year, what goals you're going to set to improve and to step forward with your life, and give yourself permission to do that. And know that you are qualified. You're qualified beyond measure. Your life experience has qualified you. And I'm here to encourage you and inspire you every step of the way. Know that you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, you are valued, and you belong. Keep stepping forward. Until we meet again, God bless and Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have a few key takeaways that you can apply to your life. And if you don't mind, take a few moments and leave a review that lets other women know that we're here making a difference in your life and theirs as well. Until we meet again, God bless.